Known for her warmth, her intelligence and her boundless potential, 15-year-old Elianne Andam was a cherished daughter, sister and friend. But in a moment of sudden and wholly senseless brutality, all of that was torn away. And it was all because of someone's pathetic need to look tough. According to Elianne's devoted auntie, Elianne was a miracle baby, her arrival in June 2008 coming after her parents' struggle of several years to have a child. Growing up in Croydon with her younger brother, Elianne spent a lot of time with her female cousins with whom she would have regular girls' nights in. A huge fan of TikTok, she herself used to post videos showcasing her dance moves. At the old palace of John Whitgift School, a private school that she attended, her former friends and teachers describing her as a much-loved and valued friend and pupil. Elianne was aiming for a career in law itself, human rights law being her chosen field. Justice and human rights were Elianne's two biggest passions. Elianne's vastly premature death, however, was caused by the ultimate violation of justice and rights. Elianne admittedly had no right to snatch the bag belonging to her friend's ex-boyfriend and run off with it as she did outside a shopping centre in Croydon on the 27th of September 2023. But she hardly deserved the death penalty for that. The bag owner, 17-year-old Hassan Sentamu, who had promised to return his ex-girlfriend her teddy bear, but who had turned up without it, the which having prompted the said act of Elianne herself, severing her carotid artery as she frenziedly stabbed her in the neck, having caught up with her only seconds later. Do subscribe, give the video a like, drop a comment and donate. Hit the thanks button below, I'll appreciate you. Hassan Sentamu was born in Uganda in September 2006. When he was 3, his mother left him behind when she came over to the UK. 2 years later, however, she was reunited with her son when he too was brought over to the UK. On being sent to boarding school back in Uganda for 3 months at the age of 11, however, Sentamu found himself once again being separated from his mother at his mother's very behest. Now, it's clear that Sentamu's early years involved a substantial level of upheaval and instability. But given the beatings with a metal pole that he claims to have suffered during his stint at boarding school in his home country, those 3 months were possibly the most traumatic of his life so far. And if, with the reference to being battered with a metal pole, you are recalling the horrific and sad case of 10-year-old Sarah Sharif, you're not the only one. Or did Sentamu's apparently traumatic childhood experiences begin before he was sent to boarding school? When he was still at primary school, you see, teachers noticed that he would often bang his head against the wall and that he was prone to outbursts of violence towards other children without provocation. He actually changed school a number of times due to his increasingly violent behaviour, which came with his increasing fascination with knives. On being caught on one occasion bunking lessons, Sentamu, who was then aged 12, produced a knife during a subsequent lesson and threatened to kill himself. Whew. On being disarmed by teachers, he later received a police youth conditional caution for possession of a bladed article. Following this, in June 2019, when he was aged 12 or 13, as a result of a minor spat with another pupil, Sentamu took a pair of scissors from the teacher's desk and threatened to stab the other boy. Weeks later, on a school trip to a farm, Sentamu threatened another pupil with a knife and was finally kicked out. Not that his behaviour improved in any way in the pupil referral unit, a PRU, that he was then sent to. Attacking a member of staff and punching a fellow pupil are just 2 examples of the aggressive and reckless behaviour that he continued to enact. Things had obviously gone seriously wrong at home, in case that wasn't already patently clear, Sentamu having been placed at some point, sorry, I couldn't find out when exactly, in foster care. Some people, though, just look for trouble, not caring about the personal consequences that the trouble that they find or cause might trigger. Of course, Sentamu threatened to harm his foster mother or chop off her cat's tail if he didn't get his way, because he didn't care about the consequences that those 2 acts could cause him. Likewise, he didn't give a shit about how his foster mother felt when she saw his drawing of a person being beheaded with a knife sticking out of their side as well. These reports of Sentamu's behaviour in foster care come, as you can probably see, from his foster carer, the poor woman. Sentamu was eventually returned to his mother's care, but things still didn't work out for the two. In 2022, for instance, his mother called the police following yet another angry outburst from her son, during which he covered the walls of their home with washing up liquid. I haven't been able to trace any information relating to Sentamu's father. Sentamu's last consultation with CAMS, Children and Adolescents Mental Health Services, a service to which he had long since been referred, came in January 2023, 8 months before he took the life of Elianne Andam. Family members report that Sentamu would, generally, spend about 90% of his time on his PlayStation games console, and that, despite being 17 years old at the time of the killing, would cry hysterically if he wasn't able to watch the film Herbie, Fully Loaded, on repeat. Sentamu left school with 2 GCSEs, a grade 3 in English and a grade 4 in maths. He then began studying sports science at Croydon College. He began dating Elianne's friend, whose identity is subject to an anonymity order, and would bombard her with love letters, in one saying that she was not his girlfriend but his wife. The teenager would get angry with his girlfriend if she didn't text him enough, as well as when she told him that she had crushes on celebrities. Sentamu would also turn up to his girlfriend's house with cards, even when she had asked him not to. After they broke up, which was a few days before Elianne's killing, his ex-girlfriend said she was aware of Sentamu's anger issues, but didn't realise the extent of his fascination with knives. When Sentamu was arrested on suspicion of murder, police reported that he was smiling and joking. One officer described how he was more interested in asking him if he enjoyed his job and looking at his CS spray and baton than in addressing the fact that he had just stabbed someone to death. Sentamu was charged with murder and remanded in custody. 2 weeks later, however, he threatened another inmate, telling him, "Do you want to end up like her, 6 feet under?" The incident took place at the Oak Hill Secure Training Centre in Milton Keynes, where Sentamu was being held on remand. When the other inmate goaded him about killing girls, Sentamu responded, "I'll do it again, I'll do it to your mum." Choosing not to give evidence, Sentamu spent the whole of his subsequent trial sitting in the dock playing with a fidget toy. His defence, though, was that due to being on the autism spectrum, having a low IQ and suffering from neurodivergence, he had diminished responsibility and could not, as such, be guilty of murder. His crime, he argued, was manslaughter, which, unlike murder, doesn't carry a mandatory life sentence. Instead, you can get a much shorter sentence or be sent to a psychiatric unit. A person who kills or is a party to the killing of another is not to be convicted of murder if the person was suffering from an abnormality of mental functioning which arose from a recognised medical condition, substantially impaired the person's ability to understand the nature of his or her conduct, form a rational judgment and exercise self-control, and provides an explanation for the person's acts and or omissions in doing or being a party to the killing. These are the criteria for a legally acceptable defence of diminished responsibility. Sorry, Sentamu, but your neurodivergence, your story of beatings at boarding school and whatever abuse and neglect you may have suffered as a child, and, excuse me, your being thick don't mean that you're suffering from an abnormality of mental functioning, which means that your claim of diminished responsibility is baseless. Having been found guilty on the 16th of January 2025 of none other than murder, at the time of this recording, Sentamu was only awaiting his sentencing. He was looking at detention at His Majesty's pleasure, and God only knows why a mandatory life sentence for under 18s, or for those who, like Sentamu, were under 18 at the time of their offence, gets a special name. The starting point for detention at His Majesty's pleasure is 12 years, which the judge will adjust either up or down in line with any aggravating or mitigating factors to the case respectively. Oh, come on, let the judge just double or treble or quadruple the 12 years on grounds that carrying a kitchen knife out on the street is what enabled Sentamu to take Elianne's life. To me, this precludes the need for the question of whether the perpetrator intended to kill or seriously harm anyone, but then I don't personally get a say. I'm sorry for Elianne, for her family and for her friends. If this video has gripped you, I recommend you to watch this one next. I'll meet you there.